All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining. We are waiting on the big rally this evening in Detroit, Michigan. That's going to be a joint rally with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Promises to be a big one. We have seen a few big rallies thus far, but according to reporting, they actually had to find a different venue for this evening, and this one will hold 50,000 people. So I know that crowd size has become a very important issue for Americans in politics over the last decade. So I don't know that you get much better than this, than selling out a venue of 50,000 strong to make sure that enough people could get in and see Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as this campaign continues to explode with energy and enthusiasm. And that is exactly what we're seeing right now. So this is going to be starting off very shortly, and as soon as it does, we will go full on that. So in the meantime, let's just switch screens here. So as soon as we see some movement at this rally, we'll make sure to bring it to you. We should just be a few minutes away. So for those watching right now, just hang on a couple minutes, and we'll get this going. In the meantime, if you have questions that you want me to answer in this couple of minutes before they actually take the stage, make sure to throw them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. Just make sure to tag my name, and also to be able to participate in the chat, you just have to subscribe to the channel. It's also just a great way to support my work in general. And yes, maybe I didn't finish that sentence. Bigger venue because there was too much interest in terms of people coming. So yes, they had too many people, filled up the previous venue, instead had to move it to, I feel like the place they had to move it to was an airfield, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's where we're at right now, just to be able to fit as many people as possible to be able to see them. I'm hearing that they are live on a different channel. So let's see if we can get in there a little bit sooner. This is the official feed, but I'm being told that PBS
to try to fight for a future. Donald Trump said nothing, and Donald Trump did nothing to help auto workers. You want to know where Kamala Harris was in 2019? She was on the picket line with striking workers. Kamala Harris stands shoulder to shoulder with working class people, not for a picture, not for publicity, but because it's the right thing to do. When Kamala Harris, as vice president, she's worked with us and helped us bring jobs back to Lordstown, Ohio, where workers were left behind. Vice President Harris took action so workers who were forced to leave Lordstown, Ohio under Donald Trump are now returning home.
This is Sean Fain. He's the president of the United Auto Workers.
She and President Biden worked with us to save a plant in Belvidere, Illinois, that was slated to close. That's the difference. Donald Trump is all talk, and talk is cheap. Kamala Harris walks the walk. She does the work, and when help was needed, she showed up.
It looks like this is delayed a little bit, so let's get...
The working class will always win when we unite in a common cause. Like Vice President Harris says, when we fight, when we fight, that's right, and we will win. We will win when the people in power stand with us. We will win when we stand up for what we deserve. And that's why the UAW and working class people are standing up for Kamala Harris, because she's walked the walk. And we know this, under a Harris-Walz ticket, America's not for sale. So, Michigan, I have a question for you. Are you ready to stand up? Are you ready to stand up for humanity? For decency? For solidarity? Are you ready to stand up, speak up, and show up for Kamala Harris? This is our generation's defining moment, and this election is our opportunity to take our lives back. So, Michigan, let's get to work.
Please welcome United States Senator Debbie Stabenow.
For those asking, that was Shawn Fain. He's the president of the UAW, the United Auto Workers. A big deal in Detroit to get this type of breathless endorsement. He was obviously a big supporter of President Biden by association because Kamala Harris was part of the Biden administration, a big supporter of Kamala Harris too, proven herself an absolute friend to unions, and Tim Walz solidifies that to the nth degree. So that was Shawn Fain, president of United Auto Workers.
Woo! Oh my gosh! Good evening, Detroit! I am so excited. Aren't you excited? That is a pretty cool plane, I think. That's a great plane. I gotta tell you though, first I gotta just say to my good friend Shawn Fain, I wish he would just say what he thought. Isn't he great? Everybody in the union who's here, thank you for fighting to make sure we have a middle class in this country. I really am excited though to be here, and I know you are too, to welcome back our Vice President, Kamala Harris, to our great state of Michigan. And by the way, this is the 5th visit she's made just this year.
Man, the Hillary Clinton curse will follow us forever, won't it?
I'm so excited to welcome back Governor Tim Walz. And I have to tell you, we love any governor from an M state. We'll start there. Not an O state, but an M state. Particularly one who knows where the Great Lakes are and why they are so important to us. You have heard it before, but I am going to say it again. This election, we have two choices, two stark choices, which I know is why you are all here. This is freaking important to all of us and our families. On the one hand, we have our great Vice President Harris and Governor Walz, smart, dedicated public servants who are fighting for an America where all of our rights and freedoms are protected. All of our rights and freedoms are protected. And one where everybody's got a fair shot to make it. That's our America, where everybody's got a fair shot to work hard and to get ahead. On the other hand, there's Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, who are running on their dangerous Project 2025 agenda to literally rip away our freedoms. Rip away our freedoms. And they want to give another round of Republican big tax giveaways to their ultra-wealthy buddies and make everybody else pay for it. Let me just say, Kamala Harris is my friend. I can tell you from her time in the Senate, as well as her time as Vice President, I've seen her up close. She is talented. She is hardworking. She is tenacious. And she will be an extraordinary leader for us in Michigan and across the country.
So this is the U.S. Senator from Michigan. She is retiring, and Alyssa Slotkin is running for her seat. She's 74 years old right now and retiring at 74. Alyssa Slotkin, obviously much younger and super talented.
President Joe Biden. She has helped bring hundreds of thousands of jobs, including manufacturing jobs, back to Michigan. I'm not exaggerating. Thousands and thousands of jobs that are coming back. Do we have someone needs help? Can we make sure someone's getting?
It looks like somebody might be sick or too hot in the audience here, for those asking what happened.
Looks like we need a medic.
Yeah.
It is so, you guys have been so wonderful standing here for so long, because we love our country. We love Kamala Harris. We love Tim Walz. We're here because we want to move forward. And so I just want to say, I'm proud of bringing jobs home. I'm proud of lowering the cost of prescription drugs, taking on the drug companies to negotiate Medicare and give them the power to get us the best price, not the highest price. And I am so proud that we have in Kamala Harris somebody who fundamentally understands our freedoms as women to, maybe decide our own health care decisions. I'm not interested in Donald Trump or J.D. Vance or Ted Cruz or any of those other politicians being in my exam room or yours. Now let me just say, and people have been talking tonight, and so I'm not going to go through the litany of all the bad things that Donald Trump did in his first term, or what he wants to do in his second, in his detailed, terrifyingly extreme Project 2025. I just want to say this to Donald Trump. Michigan is not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back.
I love that this is the campaign slogan.
We intend to keep going forward with leaders
and I love that they're repeating it over and over. It is so much of a stronger campaign message than Make America Great Again, this tired fear-mongering about bringing us back to the 1960s and 50s. Not going back is so much more potent than that.
We're not going back when it comes to our United States Senate seat either. I am so honored to have had the opportunity to suit up every day the last 24 years and go to the United States Senate on your behalf. And while I may be retiring at the end of the year, please know that I'm going to work my heart out, and I hope you will too, to make sure I am passing the torch to our great Democratic candidate, Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin.
That's what I was talking about before. She's excellent, and she's going to kick ass in the Senate.
I deeply, deeply love Michigan and care about Michigan, and I know you do too. And I want to pass the torch to someone that loves Michigan as much as I do, and that's Alyssa Slotkin. And I want to make sure we have a President of the United States and a Vice President of the United States who love Michigan as much as we all do, and who will have our backs every single day when they're in the White House. So Michigan, let's do what we know how to do. We know how to win in Michigan. We have been getting people to the polls. We've been winning in Michigan. Let's make sure we do that. So we've got Kamala Harris as our next president, Tim Walz is our next Vice President of the United States. Let's go win.
All right, we should be getting close now.
United States Representative Alyssa Slotkin.
Here we go. Alyssa Slotkin herself is running for the U.S. Senate in Michigan to take over for Senator Stabenow's seat. And super popular in the state. Also, you know you've been a politician. Something that struck me, you know you've been a politician for a long time when I'm going to work and my initial reaction is like, I'm going to work my ass off. And she said, heart out. I'm like, you know you've been a politician a long time.
Can we all give it up one more time for the amazing Debbie Stabenow, who has done so much for us? 50 years of service, the original OG, first woman elected from the state of Michigan at the federal level. Okay, we are running late, so I'm going to do this quickly. What a beautiful night. Okay. I'm Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin. I am proud to be the nominee for the U.S. Senate seat in November. We all know we have a job to do in this November. We all know that Michigan is where you come to get things done. And we know that we invented the concept of the middle class, where you could work at an auto plant and afford the car that you were buying. That was a radical concept that we invented. And the Midwest has been on display, right? The Midwest has been on display. People are here, everyone is here because they know how important we are in this election to keep the White House, to flip the House, and to keep the U.S. Senate. And I think we have actually a very interesting story going on here because we have a Midwesterner on the VP slot on both sides, right? Interesting. Here in Michigan, we know a lot of guys like Tim Walz, right? We know a lot of guys like him. He feels like one of us. He's the coach, he's the dad making bad jokes, he's a high school teacher, he's a veteran, right? And he's also the guy who will tell you to always keep jumper cables in your car. We know that guy. On the flip side, we have J.D. Vance, right? And in the Midwest, we know some guys like J.D. Vance, too, right? Let's be honest. They're the ones who talk down to people. They're the ones who preach freedom, accept the freedom for you to live the life you want to live. We all know that guy. More and more of these Republican candidates are taking the same approach. So is the guy that I will be running against, Mike Rogers. Watch him. We have a choice this election in which kind of Midwest we want, which kind of country we want. Do we want something hopeful and positive or divisive and splitting us apart? We know what we want. The other side of the aisle is going to claim that they care about the middle class. They're going to claim that they care about your jobs. What they want is your vote. They do not give a living crap about you. So in those two contrasting visions, we know which one we pick. And lastly, because I know you're excited for us to get on to the main attraction, for those of you who are not convinced by the importance of this election to your rights and your democracy, to the vision of America, the country we love, none of you would be here if you didn't love our country. That's right. If you didn't love our country, you wouldn't be here. But if none of those things convince you, let me just say one thing, again, about Midwestern values. And here, you'll have to excuse me. We are not going to no red-blooded Michigander is ever going to let a Buckeye get into the damn White House.
I know for anybody watching from either Michigan or Ohio,
please welcome
that
Governor
holds
Gretchen
some
Whitmer.
significance. As like a New Jerseyan who moved to California, I have no idea what it means. But as far as everything I've seen, this is like a very potent issue, and it's like Yankees Red Sox when I was growing up. So can't wrap my head around it, but I've been told that it's a thing.
All right, hello, Michigan!
You know what I see as I look at this crowd? Oh, okay. All right.
They're chanting
you know
Big
what
Gretch,
I see as
Big
I look
Gretch.
at this crowd? Happy Warriors for Harris and Walz, right? Now guess what? I woke up in Big Gretch mode this morning. Because I am fired up to elect Kamala Harris our president. And I am excited about our next vice president, Tim Walz. Now, I don't know if you all saw, but in Atlanta, they really showed up for the vice president last week. So you know what we got to do, right? We got to be better. We got to be louder. We got to show them how we do things in Motown, right? So, Michigan, are we fired up? Are we ready to win this thing? Now, I want to spend a moment to talk about what we're fighting for, and I want to remind us all what we are up against. In this election, we have two very different candidates. One is a prosecutor, the other is a convicted felon. One is an attorney general who served the public by taking on big banks, and the other is a fraudster who only serves himself. One, a vice president who believes in reproductive freedom, or the guy who stacked the court with the people who ripped away Roe. We're not going back, right? Say it with me, we're not going back. Kamala Harris wants to move us forward and the other guy wants to take us back, but guess what? We're not going back. Kamala Harris solves problems and the other guy is a problem. We're not going back. Kamala Harris fights for our freedoms and the other guy wants to take them away, but we're not going back. You all are doing a great job. I love you. Kamala Harris's vision for our future is all about freedom. Can you all say, hell yeah? Hell yeah! The freedom, not just to survive, but the freedom to get ahead. Hell yeah! The freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water. Hell yeah! The freedom to be who you are and love who you love. Hell yeah! The freedom to be safe from gun violence in your school, in your house of worship, or in your community. Hell yeah! And the freedom to make your own damn decisions about your own damn body. Hell yeah! So, this is why Kamala Harris got the endorsement of the United Auto Workers. Can I hear from you? Because we know that Kamala Harris is going to fight for the middle class. As president, she's going to focus on getting things done that make a real difference in our lives right now. She understands what the average person is going through because, guess what? She lived a normal life. She was raised by a single mom who had a full-time job. She moved in with her sister to help her raise her children. She took care of her mom when she was battling cancer. And she is a proud stepmom with a beautiful blended family who call her Mamala. And I know a lot of us identify with some of those characteristics. All right, Mamala. All right, I like it. And so I want to say a few words about my good friend Tim Walz, too. Now, yes, he's a fellow Great Lakes governor, a good Midwesterner, but Tim and I get along because we both lead according to a three-part strategy. Get shit done. All right, here's the real deal. He's the only governor I know who curses more than I do. And I have a feeling that's about to change. He's a former public school teacher, a soldier. He's a former soldier and a state championship winning football coach. I mean, maybe he should help out the Vikings after we smoked them twice last year. I'm just saying. Okay. You can't take away our Lions' pride, right? All right. But here's the thing. He's been an incredibly successful governor. Like Vice President Harris, Tim worked across the aisle to build consensus. He passed the largest infrastructure bill in Minnesota. He cut taxes for working families, delivered school meals for every child, protected public safety, grew Minnesota's economy, and so much more. Now, if a lot of that sounds familiar, it's because Tim and I have been trying to outdo one another on all these fronts for the last couple of years. Here in Michigan, with partners like Detroit's own Joe Tate, the Speaker of the House, first Black Speaker of the House, we rolled back the retirement tax. We invested in our students and teachers. We passed common sense gun safety laws. We protected abortion rights, LGBTQ rights, and workers' rights. And we need partners in the White House who have our backs. And that's Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will fight to help you not just get by, but to get ahead. Because every American deserves a path to prosperity, every one of us. They will fight to lower the cost of prescription drugs, make child care, pre-K, and elder care more accessible and affordable. And they will go after corporations that slap on junk fees and surprise late charges. The truth is, we cannot afford another 4 years of Donald Trump. Let's just look at his record. He did zilch on infrastructure, fail. He tried slashing Medicare and Social Security and repealing Obamacare. Thankfully, he's a failure there too. He destroyed tens of thousands of manufacturing jobs. He cut taxes for himself and his wealthy friends, and he instigated the January 6th riot. And of course, he bragged about Roe v. Wade falling. So, a second term of Donald Trump would be an unmitigated disaster. We cannot trust Donald Trump, and we must make sure he does not get back into the White House. I mean, think about it. You wouldn't buy a used car from this guy. How can you expect him to support the auto industry? I think we need some medical attention over here. I can see someone coming. Let's give the individual a little space, please. Okay? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for looking out for one another, everyone. That's what Michiganders do. So you can't trust Donald Trump. What I was saying is you wouldn't buy a used car from this guy, much less trust him with the auto industry, right? You wouldn't let him pick up the tab at dinner or trust him to pick up the tab at dinner. How can we trust him with the world's biggest economy? You can't even let him count his own strokes on the golf course. How can we trust him to protect the rule of law? So there is a lot at stake in this election, my friends. We can send Donald Trump packing again, and Michigan is going to do it. So, we need you. We need you to knock doors, because if you knock doors, we win. We need you to make calls, because if you make calls, we win. We need you to donate $1 or $2. We can win. In fact, do everything short of biting the kneecaps. For the national press, that's a Detroit Lions thing. Anyway, when we, Michigan, elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, we can wake up on November 6th, the day after the election, and say for the first time, Madam President. We need a strong woman in the White House, and it's about damn time. And a good man by her side in Vice President Tim Walz. Let's get it done, Michigan. I love you.
Man, she is a superstar. Gretchen Whitmer is such a superstar. All of which underscores the extent to which our bench in the Republican Party is so strong, and so deep. Let's see, just want to make sure that that the feed is quiet on their end and not ours. We should find that out momentarily. Just want to make sure that we didn't lose sound for any reason, but I think that they just quieted the feed while we're waiting for the next speaker. But in any case, a very deep bench as we look forward to, the future with Pete Buttigieg, Josh Shapiro, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, Wes Moore, young, charismatic, great speakers, articulate, super strong records to run on. And the future of the Democratic Party is bright. And for the first time, remember, Obama came from relative obscurity. He was a junior senator from Illinois. Prior to that, let's see if we have audio that will come back on. They were just doing that to focus the cameras. You'll notice that it went blurry for a second. That was someone from the campaign just standing in so they could focus the cameras. Okay, yes. The feed is just quiet for right now, but they'll get the sound back on the feed as soon as we have a speaker. So I wouldn't worry about that. In the meantime, for anybody watching right now, if you want to continue watching these live streams of these rallies, I'm trying to do every single one so that we have full coverage of this stuff on this channel. Please make sure to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to do so, but it's a great way to keep on top of these rallies. As well as the regular news coverage that I do on a daily basis. I do not post 20 times a day, just a couple of videos a day, what I think is the most important stuff, in-depth commentary, and we just hit 3 million subscribers on this channel, so help us on our way to 4 million right now. Also, one other note while I'm waiting for the next speaker to take the podium here. If anybody watching lives in the DC area or the LA area, I'll be on tour live in person. I'll be with Jen Psaki live 1 week from today in Washington, DC on August 14th, and I'll be with John Favreau from Pod Save America on August 26th. If you want to get tickets to either one of those events in person, you can click the link pinned at the top of the comment section right now. It's the same link where you can both buy my new book that's coming out, Shameless, but also grab tickets to the book tour events. And again, that's August 14th with Jen Psaki in DC and August 26th in LA with John Favreau. So if you want to come see us in person, it's going to be a great show, a ton to talk about, obviously, and would love to have you there and sign books in person and do the whole thing. For those asking where in D.C., 6th and I in D.C. Also, one small pitch is my book officially comes out 1 week from now, but right now J.D. Vance's book Hillbilly Elegy is number one in the rankings, and so I really would love not to lose out to J.D. Vance. So if you at all want to support my work, just purchasing the book is a great way to help me out and to support these live streams. I know people have donated and stuff, and I very much appreciate that. But the best way to support me, if you're looking to do that, is to grab a copy of the book. And you can click the link pinned at the top of the comment section as well if you'd like to do that. I'm getting the question, would I consider a job as press secretary? No, I don't think I would. And I've thought about that before. Here's an interesting tidbit that I don't think I've said on this channel. I did try to, and I was speaking about this earlier today, I actually did express some interest in being considered as a deputy press secretary for the Biden administration early on. And then I saw the work, and obviously that didn't happen, and they had an all-female press team that just kicked ass. But I saw the work that Jen Psaki did, and I was like, thank God I didn't get that role, because nobody is better than her, and she just knocked it out of the park. And I was like, this is what it looks like to excel at your job. And clearly nobody can do as good a job as she does. So I am very glad that I did not get that job. I'm going to go full on this screen for just a second.
Please welcome Adam Todd.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Todd. I am a recent graduate of University of Detroit Jesuit High School, and I am excited to attend Wayne State University in the fall. I am so excited and so honored to be here today to support Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz, who I'll be casting my vote for in my first ever presidential election this November. Medic, we need a medic. We need a medic over there.
And there are a lot of people fainting. Stay hydrated, everybody. Wherever you are, stay hydrated.
You have a medic yet? As a young black man in America, I don't often see people who look like me in positions of power. And now, finally being 18 years old and participating in this monumental event for the first time ever as a first-time voter is incredibly meaningful to me. There are so many reasons I'm proud to cast my first ballot for Vice President Harris. She's been a champion of so many causes that are close to my heart. There's a lot I could say here, but you guys have already been standing for a while, so I'll just give you one example. Protecting our environment. Since the 6th grade, I've been involved in environmental projects in my community, like my elementary and middle school's Solar Energy Club, where we advocated for solar panel installations and educated students on the renewable energy benefits. This passion continued into high school, where I became the president of University of Detroit Jesuits Environmental Club. We built a mental health garden that benefits students and also acts as a safe haven for wildlife. Unlike Donald Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris has been a champion for environmental justice, including casting the tie-breaking vote to pass the Inflation Reduction Act, the largest bill to fight climate change in our nation's history. This is the kind of leadership that really matters to young voters. We care about the future of our planet because it's our future. And Vice President Harris and Governor Walz actually know how to connect with young people. They not only realize the importance of engaging with us, but they actively listen to our voices and our perspectives. Donald Trump won't fight for us. He'd drag our country backwards. Kamala Harris has a vision to move our country forward, and she's fighting for all of us and for our future. Me speaking to you all today as an 18-year-old Black, first-time voter from Detroit, it's just one example of how she is listening to the voices of young people. On Tuesday, November 5th, we all have one job, and that is to vote Vice President Harris and Governor Walz into the White House. And now, please join me in giving a warm Detroit welcome to our next Vice President, Tim Walz.
Let's go. Here we go. Man, I love listening to this guy talk. He is so good to listen to. And it's so nice also to not have to be immersed in just straight fear porn and demagoguery when we listen to these Trump Vance rallies about how everything's going to shit and we're in a depression and how immigrants are coming to rape your wives and sell drugs to your kids. This is what it looks like for the first time in almost a decade that we're actually seeing hope as a tool in this campaign. And so it's just great to hear this guy talk and very clear to see why she chose him.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. A big thank you to Adam. I think we can all agree our future's pretty bright. Thank you, Adam. And hello, Michigan. You know, we Minnesotans, you probably know this, we're a stoic people of few words. But holy hell, can you throw a party here in Michigan? Wow. I want to take a moment to acknowledge a few friends, folks that I've gotten to know, and let's be very clear. This is someone who I consider my dearest friend, and someone who taught all the other governors how to fix the damn roads, Governor Whitmer. You have got a treasure in Michigan. And I'll tell you what, we share a lot between us in the upper Midwest. We share. Oh, we need some water. We have somebody down. We need some water.
I've covered both rallies today.
We need a medic right
I
here.
believe this is the fifth time somebody's collapsed because of the heat.
Thank you for caring for your neighbors. Thank you for showing what Michigan does. Look, we share a lot of things. That's one of them. We're neighbors and we're not weird, that's for sure. But I got to tell you something else we share is a care for the incredible natural resources. We in the upper Midwest, in our states, we care for 20% of the world's fresh water in those Great Lakes. And the Great Lakes have no better friend than your Senator Stabenow. I got some members of Congress I had the privilege of serving with and some that are new to that place. Let's be clear. We got to put gavels in the hands of these Democratic representatives so that we can get some work done. My friend Dan Kildee, Debbie Dingell, Haley Stevens, Alyssa Slotkin, Hillary Skolton, Representative Thandar, I believe just won a primary here, Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, and the chair of the Michigan Democratic Party, Lavora Barnes. Thank you. And I want to just take a moment. It's been a pretty interesting 24 hours for me, I'll have to be honest. And I don't know how I could explain to you walking into that arena in Philly or that field out in Wisconsin or right here to what I have been told is the largest rally of the campaign. And look, this is a place full of working folks, students, folks who care. And I think about this. You came out here early, found a place to park, stood in the sun, sat here and wait, and you did it. You did it for one simple and eloquent and beautiful reason. You love this country. You love this country. I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket and to help make Kamala Harris the next president of the United States. Every day of her life, Vice President Harris fights for the American people. She's taken on predators, fraudsters, and transnational gangs. You heard it. She stood up to powerful corporate interests, and she has never hesitated to reach across the aisle, try and find some common solutions. And she has done it, and this is what we know. All the things that make me mad about those other guys and all the things they do wrong, the one thing that I will not forgive them for is they try to steal the joy from this country. They try and steal the joy. But you know what? You know what? Our next president brings the joy. She emanates the joy. I know a little something about that commitment to people. I was born in a small town of 400 people in Nebraska, and community was the way of life. My mom and dad taught me you show generosity to your neighbors, and you work for a common good amongst them. At 17, I joined the Army National Guard. And for the next 24 years, it was a privilege to wear the uniform of this country. And just as it did for my dad, a Korean War era veteran, and millions of others, I used the GI Bill to get a college education. Followed a bit in my dad's footsteps. He was a teacher. My brothers and sisters were teachers. And they married teachers. I had the privilege of teaching high school social studies. And I coached the football team. We did win a state championship. I tell you that because don't ever close the yearbook is my pro tip to you. My students are the ones who encouraged me to run for office. I never thought much about it. But they saw in me what I hope to instill in them, a commitment to the common good, a true belief that one person truly can make a difference in their world. I lived in a district where I didn't know this at the time. Only one other Democrat since 1892 had won that district. And on that election night, my neighbors graced me with the opportunity to go to the United States Congress and represent them. I learned how to compromise without compromising my values. I learned how to work across the aisle to get good things done for people. And now as governor of Minnesota, I bring those experiences together so we can tackle some of those hard problems, inequities, climate change, all of the things that we care about. Now, We got a lot of shared values in this room. By the way, is labor in the room? This might be my chance to use it. Yeah.
They're chanting UAW, United Auto Workers.
What we know is Donald Trump, he sees the world a bit differently than we see the world. And I've been saying it, he doesn't know the first thing about service because he's way too busy serving himself. This is a big difference. Again and again, he does things that weakens our country, only to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division amongst the public. And that's to say nothing about his record as president. Let's be, he is that. He is that. Look, we had the worst crisis of a generation, and he froze during COVID. People lost their lives because of that. He drove the economy into the ground, and make no mistake, violent crime was up during Donald Trump's presidency. And that's not even counting the crimes he committed. So. Some of the gray hairs in here remember a Republican Party that used to actually talk about freedom. These guys, when they talk about freedom, it means government has the freedom to invade your exam room with your doctor. Now, I know, look, we got a lot of commonalities. And I'll say this, as an NFC North guys, Vikings fans are proud of the Lions. I will say that. I will say that. But in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors' personal choices. We may not agree with them or make them from ourselves, but I've been saying this, you all know it. Our golden rule is mind your own damn business. Just mind your own business. It's amazing what minding your own damn business does to make things work better. Don't like a book, don't read it. Is there anybody in America sitting around in a bar, a bunch of people talking and say, you know what we need in this country? We need a bad animal farm. That's the first thing we need to do. Nobody says that. But you know what? It would be fun if it wasn't so dangerous, because then they start thinking about things like IVF and banning IVF. And I have to tell you, this is very personal for my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we went through years of fertility treatments. Remember, every time the phone rang, I'd catch my breath, I'd feel nervousness, and then it would be a crushing feeling when they told us that the treatments didn't work. The agony of that I can feel to this day. But I can also feel some joy in this, because it wasn't by chance, as I say this, when our daughter, and we finally conceived, and our daughter was born, we didn't hesitate at all. We named her Hope. We named her Hope. But I do have to tell you something about hope. My wife always tells me this. It's not a damn plan. We can't hope we beat this guy. We can't hope that things get better. We go out and work our butts off to make sure it happens. So when our next president walks out here and she talks about freedom, she means the freedom to make your own healthcare decisions. And when she comes out here and talks about that our children should be free to go to school without being shot dead in their classrooms. Look, we believe strongly in Minnesota in the Second Amendment, just like you do. But we also believe strongly in common sense gun violence prevention laws. Freedom to an education's a ticket to the middle class, not crushing student loan debt. And it's a place where we know freedom means we settle our political differences not through violence, but with our votes. You get it. You drove out here. You stood here. Yeah. Please. Look, and let's all decide right now on this, whatever. We know it's going to be a hard race. We know it's going to be close. But let's don't be so close that these guys have anything to say. Let's don't be so close that there's anything. Let's just win the damn thing by a broader margin. Simple proposition. This election's about which direction this country's going to go in. We know Donald Trump's taking us backwards. And don't believe the act. He's playing dumb. He knows exactly what Project 2025 is going to do to our personal liberty.
Let's go. Let's go.
Destroy unions, rig the economy for the ultra-wealthy. We know that when he goes back, he's picking up and doing the same things he did when he was there the last time. Except, you all know this, it will be much, much worse when he comes back. Raising costs for all of you, repealing the Affordable Care Act. He doesn't care. Gutting Social Security, and be very clear. They can say whatever they want. They are banning abortion across this country, no questions asked. No questions asked. Yeah, you think this guy cares about you or your family? His running mate has the same dangerous and backward agenda as Trump. Well, heck, you all know it. Every regular person in the heartland went to Yale, had Silicon Valley billionaires fund his career, and then he writes a book trashing the very community that raised him. That whole thing is, I wasn't calling anybody names. I was just making an observation about them. We can see it. And here's my thing. There's a lot of things going to happen, by the way. We got about 91 days, and I keep telling people this, 91 days. My God, you can do anything for 91 days. 90. Christ, I haven't slept in 24 hours. You know why? We'll sleep when we're dead. We'll sleep when we're dead. Get it going. Here's my brass ring I'm looking for. I can't wait to debate this guy. I cannot wait to talk about what they think. I can't wait to ask him why he wants to take health care and take reproductive rights, and why he wants to make sure that the wealthiest pay no taxes as we destroy unions in the middle class. So here's the deal. You said it. These ideas that they're putting out there, they are weird as hell. No one's asking for it. No one's asking for it. We're asking a fair shot. We're asking for health care and child care. We're asking for an education. We're asking for safety in our streets. That's what we're asking for.
Damn, he's so good. I don't even know if he's using the teleprompter. I think this is just him doing his thing.
And we're going to get it because that's what this campaign's about. It's about moving forward. Look, you know that Kamala Harris believes that you should be making your own choices in your life. She believes that every person should have an opportunity to enter the middle class. She believes in something so beautiful and simple with joy. She believes in the promise of this great nation.
Wow.
Look, she can take care of herself out front, and she said it. If they want to talk smack, she said it. Say it to my face, damn it. Say it to my face. But what I got to say is, we got to have her back. We got to have her back. So, Madam Vice President, thank you for the trust you placed in me. Michigan, help me right now give a warm Midwest welcome to the next President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
Let's go. He is such a good speaker. And again, you're talking to somebody who uses a teleprompter on a daily basis. I do not think that guy was reading from the teleprompter. And her walk-up music is always so good. And there's so much energy in this room. And thank God we do not have to listen to YMCA or whatever we were subjected to after 8 years of Trump rallies on a weekly basis. Listen to this.
Good evening, Detroit!
Let's go. For those just joining, Kamala Harris is taking the stage right now.
We are doing this! We are doing this! Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, come on. We got business to handle. We got business to handle. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Can we hear it up for Tim Walz? Isn't he amazing? He's going to be the most incredible vice president. All right, so it is good to be back and to be with so many incredible leaders. I love you. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, thank you for your friendship, your sisterhood, and your leadership, and we are going to do this together. Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, thank you so much. His parents are over there. And the members of Congress, including Senator Debbie Stabenow, my dear friend. And your next United States Senator, Representative Elisa Slotkin. We're going to get that done. Mayor Mike Duggan, thank you for the warm welcome always. And of course, it is so good to be with the President of the United Auto Workers, my dear friend Shawn Fain. And last week, it was my honor, it feels like last year. Last week, it was my great honor to accept the endorsement of the United Auto Workers. And the UAW has always worked to lift up the working people of our nation. Do we need some help over there? We need a medic over there, please. There should be medics in each corner. We're good? Okay. All right.
Look at her killing it.
Take care of each other.
She's like making sure there's medics in each specific spot.
Look out for each other. Okay.
So what executive experience looks like.
As I said to Shawn, as I talked to Shawn about this election is going to be a fight. We like a good fight. When you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for. We know what we stand for. So I'm so proud to have UAW by my side because y'all know how to fight and you know how to win. Today, I also bring greetings from our incredible President Joe Biden. That's right. Joe. That's right. And I know we are all deeply, deeply grateful to Joe for his lifetime of service to our nation, and we thank you, Joe Biden, each and every day for all you are and all you still have yet to do. Thank you, Joe. 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 That's right. I'm going to tell him what you said. So, Michigan, this has been a big week. On Monday, I officially became the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. And yesterday, I announced my running mate in this campaign, Governor Tim Walz. And as you just heard, he has an incredible record as governor of the great state of Minnesota. And to those who know him best, some people are just getting to know him, but I'm going to tell you, you got to know him real quick because he's incredible. He's a serious, serious man. He has been a serious leader, and he loves our country. And you know, I've talked to some of the people who know him best, like his wife, Gwen. And to Gwen, Tim Walz, his husband. To his kids, Hope and Gus, he is dad. To his fellow veterans, he is Sergeant Major Walz. To the people of southern Minnesota for 12 years, he was a congressman. To his former high school students, he is Mr. Walz. And to his former high school football players, he was Coach. And in 90 days, the nation will know Coach Walz by the title Vice President of the United States. That's right. So it is so good to be back in Michigan. And listen, I am clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state. And with your help, we will win in November. We will win. And I know we are all clear about what we are up against. As many of you know, before I was elected vice president, before I was elected as a United States senator, I was elected attorney general, and before that, elected district attorney, and before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, scammers who broke the rules for personal gain. So hear me, Detroit, when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. I've been dealing with them my whole career. For example, as Attorney General of California, I took on one of the country's largest for-profit colleges that scammed students. Well, Donald Trump ran a for-profit college that scammed students. You remember that? As a prosecutor, I specialized in cases of sexual abuse. Well, Donald Trump was found liable for committing sexual abuse. As Attorney General, I held the big Wall Street banks accountable for fraud. Well, Donald Trump was just found guilty of fraud. 34 counts, to be exact. Hold on. You know what? Here, hold on. Here's the thing. The courts are going to handle that. We're going to beat them in November. We're going to beat them in November. Okay? him in November. We'll handle that. But all that to say, in this campaign, I proudly put my record against his any day of the week. Any day of the week. But make no mistake, our campaign, this campaign, is not just about us versus Donald Trump. It's bigger than that. It is about two very different visions for the future of our nation. One, ours, focused on the future, and the other, focused on the past. And Michigan, we here fight for the future. We fight for the future. We fight for a future where every worker has the freedom to join a union, where every senior can retire with dignity, a future with affordable housing, affordable child care, affordable health care, and paid leave. A future where we build a broad-based economy where every American has an opportunity to own a home, to start a business, and to build wealth. And understand, in this fight, we are joyful warriors. Because while fighting for a brighter future may take hard work, we all here know hard work is good work. Hard work is good work. We believe in a future where we lower the cost of living for America's families, so they have a chance not just to get by, but to get ahead. Because look, while our economy is doing well by many measures, prices for everyday things like groceries are still too high. You know it and I know it. When I was Attorney General, I went after price-fixing schemes. And when I am president, it will be my day one priority to fight to bring down prices, to take on the big corporations that engage in illegal price gouging, take on corporate landlords that unfairly raise rents on working families, to take on big pharma and cap the cost of prescription drugs for all Americans. That is the work we will do together. And all of this to say, unlike Donald Trump, I will always put the middle class and working families first. Because Coach Walz and I know the middle class built this great country of ours, and when the middle class is strong, America is strong. And look, as we move our nation forward, Donald Trump intends to take our nation backward. Just look at his Project 2025 agenda. Project 2025. And please do check out Project 2025. Because I'm telling you, it is a plan. It is a plan to weaken America's middle class. Project 2025, if he is elected. It's all good. I'm here because we believe in democracy. Everyone's voice matters, but I am speaking now. I am speaking now. So Project 2025. Look, if he is elected, Donald Trump intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking. Because we know what that would look like. And again, understand, Donald Trump intends to end the Affordable Care Act and take us back to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. We all remember what that looked like. And we're not going back. We're not going back. Our fight is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom. Across our nation, we are witnessing a full-on attack on hard-fought, hard-won fundamental freedoms and rights, and we will not stand for it. Attacks on the freedom to vote, attacks on the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water, the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride, and the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. Generations of Americans before us led the fight for freedom. Now the baton is in our hands, each and every one of us. So we, who believe in the sacred freedom to vote, will finally pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. We who believe in the freedom to live safe from gun violence will finally pass an assault weapons ban, universal background checks, and red flag laws. We who believe in the freedom to organize will pass the PRO Act and put an end to union busting once and for all. And we who believe in reproductive freedom will fight for a woman's right to choose. Remembering what Donald Trump did to pick 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would take away this freedom, and they did as he intended. We who are paying attention to the fact that now over 20 states in our country have a Trump abortion ban, many with no exceptions, even for rape and incest. And we all know if he wins, he would sign a national abortion ban to outlaw abortion in every state, and that would include the great state of Michigan. But we're not going back. It is because there is a thing about who we are that is a bit different from the folks on the other side. We trust women to know what is in their best interest and not have their government telling them what to do. And when I am President of the United States and Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedoms, I will sign it into law. So, Michigan, here's the thing. So much is on the line in this election. And we got to remember, you know, we knew who he is and what he was about in 16 and in 20, but there's also something else that has happened recently that we really have to prioritize in our mind about the danger we're looking at. Last month, the United States Supreme Court basically just told the former president, who has been convicted of fraud, that going forward, he will be immune no matter what he does in the White House. But think about that. Think about that. Think about what that means. Think about what that means. The man has openly vowed, if reelected, that he will be a dictator on day one. Think about what that means when he said that he will even, quote, terminate the Constitution of the United States. Because let us be very clear, someone who suggests we should terminate the Constitution of the United States should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. Never again. Vote. 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 That's right. So here's the thing, to your point. When it comes down to all of the things that are important about this, I think the most important thing that I love you back, and listen, one of the things that I know brings us all out today and always is we love our country. We love our country. We love our country. And I do believe it is the highest form of patriotism to fight for the ideals of our country. That is how we preserve the promise of America. After all, the promise of America, think about it, is what makes it possible for Tim Walz and me to be together on this stage today. Think about it. Think about that. 2 middle-class kids, one a daughter of Oakland, California, who was raised by a working mother. I had a summer job at McDonald's. The other, a son of the Nebraska plains who grew up working on a farm. Only in America is it possible for them together to make it all the way to the White House. Only in America. Only in America. So we are running this campaign on behalf of all Americans, from red states to blue states, from the heartland to the coast. And when elected, I promise you we will govern on behalf of all Americans. I promise that. So I'll close with this. Michigan, ultimately, in this election, we each face a question. We each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? A country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law, or a country of chaos, fear, and hate. And the beauty of our democracy, we each have the power to answer that question. We each have the power to answer that question. The power is with the people. So in the next 90 days, we need you to use your power. We need you to knock on some doors. We need you to register folks to vote. We need you to organize and energize and mobilize and make your voices heard. So Michigan, I ask you, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you, and God bless you.
All right. I kind of like watching the end of these rallies too, while this music pumps in. I remember the days when Democrats had no bench, and it was just basically expected that, Hillary Clinton was going to be the nominee because we had nobody else. And now look at the bench that Democrats have. Look at Gretchen Whitmer, look at Kamala Harris, look at Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, Josh Shapiro, Tim Walz. There is such a deep bench. Wes Moore. We have so many young, talented politicians in the Democratic Party, and look what the Republican Party is putting forward. You've got Donald Trump, 78 years old, who has been responsible for losing elections in 2018, 2020, 2022, 2023, and yet they cling to him like he's the last thing on earth. And meanwhile, look at the energy on the Democratic side. Look what these people are capable of now. This is what a deep bench among Democrats looks like. And you can't fake this type of enthusiasm. That's the thing that we've learned. That's the thing that we learned the hard way by virtue of the last few months trying to make it happen with Joe Biden. And it's not like anybody didn't recognize the stakes, but you can't. This is something that you have to just earn organically, and that's exactly what she was able to do. The difference in organic engagement from someone like Kamala Harris versus Joe Biden is just night and day, which is not a knock on how Joe Biden did as president, but you just there's a difference between a politician in office and a politician on the campaign trail. Joe Biden, great president, not a good candidate. Kamala Harris, killing it on the campaign trail on a daily basis. And this is a testament to exactly that. The fact that people are coming out by the tens of thousands, raising money by the hundreds of millions, bringing young people into the fold. In the first 5 days after Kamala Harris had announced her nomination and after she was endorsed by Joe Biden, she was responsible for the registration of over 100,000 people, according to Vote.org. 80% of those were between the ages of 18 and 35. These are people who didn't come into the process until Kamala Harris was the nominee, putting on full display the extent to which it is important to have a candidate who can rally up this kind of enthusiasm. So that's where we stand right now. Another huge rally. I believe there were more than 10,000 people in attendance in Detroit. This is in the immediate aftermath of having been, where were they this morning? In Wisconsin this morning, Philadelphia yesterday. So continuing to crisscross across these battleground states and make sure that this blue wall stays intact. And especially important to do that because if Democrats are able to win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, ironically enough, the 3 states that Democrats were in the last 24 hours, then we will win this election. That is enough to get us to 270 electoral votes. Let me see if we're able to do something real quick. So let's check out what that will look like. I just want to kind of lend credence to what I'm saying and actually give you an indication of what it looks like. So if we're in this situation right here, where let's take Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania off the map right now. This is where we're at, 226 electoral votes. The 3 states that Democrats, that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz visited today, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was last night, Wisconsin was this morning, and they're in Detroit, Michigan right now. If Democrats win these 3, that means we're looking at 236, 251, boom, 270. That's what you need to win with these 3 states. And so over and over and over, Democrats and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will continue to hit these 3 states, which is not to say that they won't also travel to the other states. But with these 3, that's 270 electoral votes. That's what we need to win. And then beyond that, everything else is gravy. But Pennsylvania, obviously a very important state. With 19 electoral votes, we will have to win some combination of 2 other states if we don't have Pennsylvania. But with this right here, look, with these 3 blue wall Rust Belt states, then everything else that beyond that is gravy. If we take, let's say, for example, just to do a thought experiment real quick, if we say Georgia falls to the Republicans and North Carolina falls to the Republicans, we can get either one of these, and that would just continue to add to our sum total. We could be looking at 287 in likely what would be a close scenario. And then, of course, we have a candidate in Lieutenant Governor Robinson on the Republican side who's running in North Carolina, who is as extreme as it possibly gets. And that may very well bring out a lot of Democrats who recognize the importance of voting against him. If we flip North Carolina, for example, then we're looking at over 300 electoral votes. Remember, Georgia is still a swing state. And Kamala Harris has been huge in terms of activating the African-American population, the black population, and bringing them back into the political process and getting the same numbers that Joe Biden was getting, which were huge numbers. And so if we have Georgia in our column, then we're looking at 319. That's in a great case scenario where we're able to take all of the swing states here. But right now we are looking at a number of swing states: Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, and of course, Georgia. But right now, these 3, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, are the whole ballgame. And so that's the ones we will continue to keep an eye on. Which state do I think will be the hardest for Democrats to win? I would probably say the order that Democrats are most likely to win these states will go Michigan. After that will be Wisconsin. After that will be Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania will be the tipping point state in this election. After that, we are looking at probably Arizona, then Nevada, then Georgia, then North Carolina. This is what I presume will happen. And we will, of course, continue to keep an eye on the polling in these states. But that's where I think we look at right now. That's where I think we're up to right now. So an interesting thought experiment. I should note that we will be doing something really, really, really special on election night on this channel. And that's all I'll say about that for the moment. But please, if you're not yet subscribed, and I think about half of those watching right now aren't yet subscribed, if you want to stay on top of everything I do on this channel, both with regard to these live streams for rallies like this one, and ultimately for election night, something special happening on election night, please make sure to subscribe. It's also just a great way to support my work. I don't do sponsorships on this channel. I don't do paid ads or anything like that, and I never put my content behind a paywall. So simply subscribing is just the best way to support what I do. Also, if those of you watching want to further support me, you can pre-order my book that's coming out called Shameless. It's coming out in just a few days, but it's already available for pre-order. And I've posted, I pinned the link to the comment I pinned the link in the comment section to pre-order the book, and it's also a great way to support my work. And also important to try to do whatever I can to be ranked higher than J.D. Vance, who is ranked very high right now in his book, Hillbilly Elegy. So if you'd like to support me beyond subscribing, that is a great way to do it. So I'm being asked a question by a few people. Is there any chance that a red state that generally stays red may have a chance of flipping blue? There has been talk about Texas. Here's the thing. It is just a matter of time before Texas flips. Texas has gotten closer and closer each election cycle. Let me see if I can find out the numbers that we've seen from Texas. So in 2004, Texas was 61% Republican. In 2008, they were 55% Republican. In 2012, fell back a little bit, 57% Republican. 2016, 52.09% Republican. 2020, they were 52.02% Republican, and Democrats got the highest vote share since 1976. And that was 46.44%. Texas is, as Beto O'Rourke says, not a red state. It is a non-voting state. The more we can get people to vote in Texas, and the numbers of the population in Texas are booming right now, that number will continue to shrink. That margin will continue to shrink, because right now we've got, it's in the latest election, 52% to 46.5%. That is not a strong margin for Texas. And when Texas eventually flips red, you better believe that Republicans will not win another election in this country, at least not as they currently stand. Because even if we're losing states like Georgia, even if we're losing states like North Carolina, even if we're losing states like Nevada and Arizona, you still cannot compete with the sheer number of electoral votes that Texas brings. Even if we're losing Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and, not Minnesota, and, if we lose Michigan, then we've lost. But by that point, if we flip Texas blue, we are not losing Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. But look at the sheer power that Texas would bring if and when they flip blue. And it's going to happen. And they've gotten closer and closer every election cycle. Sorry, if I said flips red, that was a mistake on my part. But it's just a matter of time right now. But of course, for this election, there has been talk of supporting Colin Allred. Apparently his numbers are already, his donation numbers are already exceeding that of Beto O'Rourke, who already unto himself had enormous donation numbers. Let's see if we can get the numbers. Ted Cruz versus Beto. That was, Beto only lost to Ted Cruz 48.3% to 50.8%. That is, those are not strong numbers. And apparently Colin Allred is already raising more money than Beto O'Rourke, which is going to only be helped by the fact that Kamala Harris is running a more popular campaign right now than any Democrat has run in a long time, and has someone like Tim Walz on her ticket, who, again, is there to appeal to exactly the kind of people who might not feel like they're well enough represented by Kamala Harris. This is a gun owner who advocates for the Second Amendment, but with common sense gun safety laws. So look for these numbers in Texas to continue coming down. And just so that I don't confuse anybody, let's put Pennsylvania and Wisconsin back in the Democratic category right there, for fear of giving anybody the wrong impression. But I'll leave this up on the screen right now because this should, at a bare minimum, be the goal. And it is a testament why it was so important that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz make sure to show up in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin over the course of 24 hours. With that said, let's take a few moments to answer some questions. So if you have questions, just tag my name and throw them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. What are my thoughts on Trump inserting election officials that are pro-Trump and election deniers? How do you think that's going to affect the election? I've actually just done an episode of Democracy Watch with Mark Elias on exactly this issue. It was a few days back. So if you check the Democracy Watch playlist on my YouTube channel, we talk in detail about that exact issue. But long story short on that, there are election deniers in positions of power at the county level who have already blocked the certification of elections before, and I think that's about 22 of them in power right now, and about 50 more of them, or 49 more of them, who have espoused election denialism on their Facebook pages, for example, who are right now in positions of power. And those people are very likely going to exercise what power they have to try and block certification of the election results again. What Mark said is that they will do that, and then they will get sued. And just like the courts prevented that from happening in 2020, even among a number of Republican-appointed judges, Trump-appointed judges, and the U.S. Supreme Court, of which a third was appointed by Donald Trump himself, all of those cases got knocked down. The job of these people is purely ministerial. It is basically to just rubber stamp the election results that were handed down in a free and fair manner, and these people will try, but at the end of the day, unless they want to continue getting sued, they will do their jobs. And so we should absolutely be vigilant about the fact that it's going to happen, and make sure that we're not taken by surprise or lend credence to this idea that it's somehow legitimate if and when it does happen, but recognize that when it does happen, these people will get sued and they will lose. They will lose like what happened in 2020. They will lose again in 2024. Their jobs are not to determine unilaterally the outcome of these elections. It is ministerial. Just like Mike Pence's job is ministerial as the vice president to certify the election results. Can Alaska and Montana flip in the future? Look, Montana right now is defending a seat where a Democratic senator is in office. Alaska's at-large representative is a Democratic lawmaker. I think that these states are not necessarily as red as people like to assume they are. I mean, we're not talking about Alabama and Mississippi here. We are talking about a state in Alabama that right now is represented in the House, currently, today, by a Democrat. Montana, in the U.S. Senate today, by a Democrat. And especially as the Donald Trumps of the world and everybody who comes after him continue to espouse this naked, egregious, aggressive extremism, it's going to continue pushing these people away. Do I think that Ohio might flip because they can't stand Vance? The problem with Ohio is that it is trending to the right. If you look at a state like Texas, it's trending to the left. So you have to look at the numbers in previous elections. The margin is growing smaller and smaller in a state like Texas away from the Republicans. The margin is growing wider and wider in a state like Ohio toward the Republicans. So I'm actually more bullish on a state like Texas than I am on a state like Ohio. How much do I think Tim Walz will help turning out Democrats in rural areas and flipping Republicans to vote for Harris? I think two things on this. I think Tim Walz absolutely appeals to these people. This is somebody who has passed common sense legislation in his state. We are talking about a guy who signed into law legislation to allow children in schools to have hot breakfasts and lunches. Is that necessarily even a partisan issue? What he's doing is taking back this idea that everything has to be along party lines, that everything is a partisan fight, and introducing to the electorate the fact that a lot of the policies that Democrats espouse are common sense policies. And that's, I think, his superpower in terms of being on the campaign trail. What he is relatable as a foil to the phoniness of J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. And you heard him, Tim Walz, talk about that today. When he goes out there and says that, J.D. Vance basically came from Appalachia and just like everybody else went to Yale, got funded by a bunch of Silicon Valley billionaires, wrote a book about Appalachia, trashing it, and then sold it so that it was #1 bestseller. Just like every other guy you know from Appalachia. Getting funded by Peter Thiel and other avowed anti-democracy Christo-fascists. Will there be another January 6th? I'm afraid of that. So on the issue of January 6th, I think the important thing is that we all know what Donald Trump's plan is in advance. So if and when he tries to pull something like that again, we are not caught off guard. We're able to call out the sham effort for what it is before the fact so that it doesn't feel legitimate. We already know it's going to happen. We already know he's going to try to incite violence. We already know he's going to use whatever levers he has at his disposal. Luckily, he's not in the White House to be able to wield any actual influence, but he will try. And, that's why it was so important that the Justice Department actually indict these people so that they don't think that they just got a free pass to do it again. And with 1,000 convictions now of January 6th insurrectionists, hopefully that serves as something of a deterrent for future insurrectionists to come forward and try it again. But the most important thing is to just make sure that we are armed with accurate information so that if and when Donald Trump comes out and says, for example, that he actually won the election, we'll know that it's just what he does and that, you don't have to take his word as gospel, for example. He's going to look at certain states where they count election day ballots before they count the mail ballots and declare victory in those states. So the important thing is to just make sure that you are as informed and educated about what's happening as humanly possible. And second of all, that you yourself have a plan to vote, that you're registered to vote, that your circle of people have a plan to vote. And everybody here has an obligation. I'm talking to 15,000 people in this live stream right now, and I'm sure plenty more once this is actually posted on my YouTube channel. Everybody has an obligation to find 1 or 2 people in your life who have not yet voted. I know everybody has that in their own families, in their own circles of people, in their neighborhood or coworkers or friends. Everybody has an obligation to find 1 or 2 people, whether it's an 18-year-old who just became eligible to vote, whether it's, a coworker who's lost faith in the entire political process and sit this thing out, or whether it's one of the millions of people who just don't care about politics. Whether they're disaffected or just not interested, everybody has an obligation to find 1 or 2 people and make them your priority. That's it. I say this in almost all of my videos, all of my live streams, but the difference between a Trump win and a Biden win in Wisconsin in 2020, 2 votes per precinct. If Trump was able to get just 2 votes per precinct more, he'd have flipped that state. And very often, Wisconsin is the tipping point state in this country. That goes to show the extent to which you finding 1 or 2 people in your circle can have on this upcoming election. From a cultural or zeitgeist perspective, which regions, cities, towns on the East Coast would be interesting to visit in the weeks around the election? I think what would be especially interesting, and this is kind of a message to those of you who live in these places. If you're in a place, in a county or a town where it was littered with Trump signs in 2016, I'm very curious to know whether you've seen fewer Trump signs in this time around. That would be, I think that would be the most interesting thing to hear. I've heard from a lot of people, whether it's over email or people who've just been traveling around the country, that there are fewer Trump signs than they've seen the last time around. I just had a friend drive basically cross country, and when she got into Iowa, and she does this drive pretty frequently, when she got into Iowa, she said there's a massive difference in terms of what she's seeing now in 2024 as opposed to what she saw previously when she'd driven through Iowa, in terms of the sheer number of Trump signs, how much fewer there are this time around. So I'm curious, for those who live in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, for example, and I know there's probably a few of you on this live stream right now, whether you've seen fewer Trump signs. Let's do a little poll real quick. Only answer this poll, by the way, if you actually live in a city where there were a lot of Trump signs. So I just put a poll in the chat, and I apologize for people who are not watching this live, but who are watching this afterwards. You won't be able to vote in this poll, but I'll tell you what the poll results are. So I want to know, for people who live in places where there were a lot of Trump signs previously, and it's okay. I mean, we want an accurate count. So if you're seeing more Trump signs than before, I want to know that. If we're seeing fewer than before, I want to know that too. So if you don't live in one of those places, don't vote. I just want to get kind of an accurate assessment of where you live, because I know that there are a lot of blue dots in red sinkholes here. So I'm very curious to hear. And right now we have almost 1,000 votes, and already it is 92% are seeing fewer Trump signs, and this is only in places where there were a lot of Trump signs previously. So already some pretty interesting results. I'm getting a comment right now. I'm in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, right next to Bucks County. Definitely less signs. Very interesting. From small town Kansas, barely any Trump signs here. So interesting to hear this. Florida, fewer signs. Fewer signs in Jacksonville, Florida. Fewer signs in St. Clair County, Michigan. Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, fewer. Scranton, Pennsylvania, many fewer Trump signs in the surrounding areas. In Escalon, California, there were a depressing amount of Trump signs in 2020. There's still a few months left to go, but so far there are much less. Wow, this is wild. Lehigh County, Pennsylvania. I know Lehigh County. I went to college at Lehigh. Less signs. Fewer in Florida. Riverside County, which is right next to Los Angeles. There are more. So we got our first more. Again, good to get like an honest assessment here. Northern Michigan, hardly any Trump signs. Oklahoma, less signs. Northern New Hampshire, similar to before. Fewer in Iowa right now. Northern Michigan, fewer. Virginia, way less here. Bucks County, and it's getting scary. So I think that might mean there are more for this person in Bucks County. So already just getting a sense from the comments, I'm seeing stuff in Maine. Land O'Lakes, Florida, there are fewer. Hot Springs, Arkansas, I've not seen a single one. Fewer in Greenville County, South Carolina. So we have people from all over the country. And look, this is all anecdotal. And of course, as we've learned from Donald Trump and his boat parades, that this type of anecdotal data doesn't mean anything necessarily. But it is just interesting to get a sense of where people stand in their real life. And I'm still getting a ton of people in the comments from all across the country. Conway, South Carolina, less signs. Milwaukee, only seen a few. Western North Carolina, less signs. Less in Florida. Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, fewer signs. Central Illinois, almost none. Kenosha, less. Less in upstate New York. Fewer in southern West Virginia. 2 signs in northeastern Tennessee that they've seen. Barry County, Michigan, less signs. Green Bay, Wisconsin, much less. Fewer in northwest Indiana. Less in southern Indiana. Middle of Tennessee, no signs. Las Vegas, less signs. That's some good news. less in Missouri, less in Lake County, Illinois. So again, all anecdotal. Utah, fewer. Some people seem to be a lot more reserved, even mentioning their support for Trump. The pill seems to have been a little too tough to swallow. Wow, this is so if you needed a little bit of hope, I mean, it's actually kind of nice to just go down this list and just keep reading places. And to get an indication. And look, as I was saying before, all of this is anecdotal, and we've learned from Donald Trump that just pointing to anecdotal data like his boat parades back when he was running in 2020 don't necessarily mean things, and what matters is what actually happens at the voting booth. But use this as a little bit of motivation, not to be complacent, but rather to know that we have a good shot at winning, and that means throw everything you've got behind this. We have 90 days to go. 90 days to go to leave it all on the field right now, and to know that when you look back, as we are teetering on the precipice of democracy and autocracy, that you individually did every single thing you could to protect this country. And look, I'm not sitting here asking you to do everything. Not everybody needs a YouTube channel where they're able to reach thousands of people. All I'm asking is that everybody here does something. You don't have to do everything, but you have to do something. And the thing that I've landed on that I think is going to have the biggest impact is just find somebody in your circle who did not vote the last time around. And I know that we all have those people in our lives because I have them in my life, even despite what I do for a living. So find those people and make them your responsibility, even if it's one person. One person who wouldn't have otherwise voted. That means that you double your impact in this election. And I promise you it will have a big impact. We are talking about election cycles where these things are decided in individual states by 12,000 votes, 20,000 votes, a fraction of 1%. We have almost 15,000 people watching this right now. That is bigger than the margin of victory in a state like Georgia in 2020. I promise you that everybody taking a small step will have a major impact in this next election. That is my only focus. All right, let's pivot to other questions here, and I'll just take this opportunity to answer one more question if we have time here. Which House race should people be aware of? We don't hear much about them. That's a great question. I think one that I'm especially focused on for those who live in California. I know that we have a lot of Californians out here. California's 41st congressional district is Will Rollins running against a guy named Ken Calvert. That's out in Palm Springs. That's a huge race. Will Rollins is a prosecutor who I believe prosecuted one of the members of, I believe it was a January 6th insurrectionist running against an avowed homophobe in Palm Springs, California, which is like the haven for the LGBT community. So that is an absolutely flippable, winnable race. Otherwise, there are 19 districts right now that Biden won in 2020 that Republicans are currently sitting in. There is no reason that we shouldn't be winning the House. So even if you live in a blue state like I do, in California or New York, there are absolutely still seats all across the country, even in safe states, that Democrats need help in, and even if you don't live in those states, please make sure to donate so that Democrats can open field offices, for example. Let me give you some stats on field offices that I think are going to make you feel pretty good here. This is according to the Harris campaign. In July, the Gen Z donor base increased by 10 times. Harris raised more than $310 million last month, which is more than double what the Trump campaign raised. They've had the best fundraising grassroots month in political history. Over 170,000 volunteers have signed up for the Harris campaign to volunteer with phone banking and canvassing, which is where elections are won, that is on the ground, face-to-face with voters. And in Nevada, Harris had 13 campaign offices. Donald Trump had 1. In Pennsylvania, Harris had 36 offices, while Trump had 3. In Georgia, Harris has opened 24 offices, while Trump didn't open his first one until June. That's where the money goes to on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, if you donate your money, your hard-earned dollars to Donald Trump, they do not go toward field offices. They most likely go toward Alina Habba and whatever bag she wants to buy on Rodeo Drive while she goes into court and loses cases on Trump's behalf. That's where your money goes. The entire thing is a grift. Everything on the Republican side has been funneled toward giving Donald Trump more money. Meanwhile, on the Democratic side, we are organizing, we are opening field offices, we're making sure to get ads on the air so that we can win in the most important election of our lifetimes. So, with that said, we will leave it there. If you're not yet subscribed, I will be doing more live streams of every rally that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz hold. I think it's important to continue making sure that people see this stuff, hearing from them, so we know what's at stake in this election, so we keep the energy going for 90 days. That is on all of us. It is not to look away for 90 days. This is it. Like, we all have an obligation to make sure that we're continuing to elevate this stuff, to elevate their words, and make sure the enthusiasm stays on our side, and that Donald Trump does not co-opt the attention of the entire country like he's so prone to do here. So again, if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. And one last time, if you'd like to support me beyond this, my book is for sale. That is called Shameless. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org. If you want to support indie bookshops, that's bookshop.org. And of course, I have my book tour in DC on August 14th. With Jen Psaki, and in LA on August 26th with John Favreau from Pod Save America. So to grab the book or to grab tickets to the bookstore, to the book tour, please make sure to click the link at the top of the comment section or in the pinned comments below. All right, with that said, I'll leave it there and I'll see everybody tomorrow. Thanks all for watching.